Oh my God. Well, this is where we are abruptly reminded that sometimes combat can be like selling real estate. What are those three magic words? Location, location, location. Look where these outnumbered Confederates are. They are on very high ground, dug in, supported by artillery. They own that little bridge, and anyone who tries to cross it, once again, outnumbered Confederates in a perfect defensive position. Well, be that as it may, Burnside must get across Antietam Creek somehow. Remember, that's the key to victory. To get to Sharpsburg, to get across the creek is to get to Sharpsburg. To get to Sharpsburg is to cut Lee off from his escape route, cut Lee's army in half. Now, there's something to know. Two things to know about this valley at the time of the battle. For one thing, there were no trees on the Union side of Antietam Creek. The other side of the creek was clear cut. No cover over there. The other thing to know is that Antietam Creek, on the day of the battle, in the area of the bridge, was simply too deep to wade, especially under all this intense fire. All right, so here's what Burnside's going to do. He's been informed by his engineers that about a quarter mile downstream, Antietam Creek widens out, and as a result it gets real shallow. So he's going to send 3,000 men under General Rodman downstream to find that crossing place. And General Rodman finds it. As the engineer said, it's only about a quarter mile downstream, and yes, it looks like it's only about ankle deep. Well, Rodman's never going to find out, because what the engineers neglected to mention is that the banks down there are like sheer cliffs. He's not going to be able to get his men down, and certainly not back up again, especially under fire. Rodman knows that this is not going to work. So he will continue marching his men further and further downstream into the great unknown, simply in hopes of finding a better crossing place. Now, how many of you folks have never been to Antietam before? Okay, neither have they. You see what I'm saying here? Mm-hmm. They're doing the best they can. Well, that's going to take some time. And in that time, Burnside is going to send diversionary attacks against this bridge. Attacks designed to distract the Confederates' attention from the main attack downstream. Both those attacks, as diversionary attacks, follow the same pattern. Columns of Union soldiers double timing up that little pea gravel road, the Roarsville Road on the other side, paralleling Antietam Creek, heading towards the bridge. They're also, yes sir, they're paralleling all of this intense and accurate Confederate fire. Once again, Confederates have turned something into a shooting gallery. This time it's that road. Both those Union attacks get shot to pieces before they even make it halfway to the bridge. And time is going by. And still no word from General Rodman. Burnside is starting to think that Rodman has met with some calamity of his own downstream. So Burnside concludes that if they're going to get across Antietam Creek, which is his objective, he's going to have to use this bridge after all. He looks around at his commanders, and his eyes land on Union Colonel Ferraro. Ferraro in command of 4 regiments. And Ferraro hears these chilling words from Burnside. Take that bridge at all costs. Now, Ferraro's been watching the morning's proceedings with great interest, knowing that sooner or later he's getting pulled into this. He looks at that little road littered with Union dead and dying. He realizes that road does not factor into his plan. Instead, he's going to march his 4 regiments far down the Union lines, beyond their flank, bring them up in back of the Union line until they are directly across from us, directly across the bridge, behind that little hill, right on the other side of Antietam Creek. Now, there were no trees on that hill, but from the far side of that hill, these Confederates couldn't see Ferraro's men. If you can't see them, you can't shoot them. From the far side of that hill, Ferraro will organize his line of battle. 2 regiments wide, 2 regiments deep. On his order, they go charging up the far side of that hill. They come thundering down the face of it. It is so steep that they cover that open ground in a jiffy. Deploying behind that stone wall and behind a rail fence, those 4 regiments, in a coordinated manner, delivered devastating volleys of fire against these Confederates up here on the high ground. These Confederates who've been holding out now for nearly 4 hours. They are exhausted. They're running low on ammunition. They're outnumbered. This represents an enormous amount of pressure they're under. And this coincides with the very timely arrival of General Rodney. He found a crossing place about 1.25 miles downstream. He's gotten his 3,000 Yankees across there in Freedom Creek. They've just come rolling up on the Confederate flank. See why I explain flanking right off the bat? Under this combined pressure, by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the Confederate line crumbles. Confederates in full retreat back toward Sharpsburg. Burnside pushing the rest of the Ninth Corps over that bridge that now bears his name. To form his final line of attack on the next to last ridge right outside of Sharpsburg. The Union Ninth Corps in line of battle was an unbroken line of soldiers nearly 1 mile wide. Pretty impressive sight. And they all knew that just beyond the next ridge was Sharpsburg, and that meant victory. As far as they were concerned, victory was right over that next ridge, and it was the Ninth Corps that was going to bring home the bacon. And way out there at the extreme left flank of that long Union line was the 16th Connecticut Regiment of Volunteer Infantry. Those men had been in the Army now for about 3 weeks. Most of them had not yet been instructed in how to use their rifles. And there they were in that most vulnerable position, the end of the line. Well, inexperienced or not, when that order comes to advance, they're going to have to advance as steadfastly as everybody else. And about 3:45, that order comes, forward to Sharpsburg, forward to victory, and that long, long line of Union blue and steel steps off the mark, all eyes on Sharpsburg, and way out there, the 16th Connecticut is just about to cross the Harper's Ferry Road, right outside of Sharpsburg. And that is where they rendezvous with their destiny. In the form of this man, Confederate General A.P. Hill, and the 3,000 Confederates he has just marched those 17 miles from Harper's Ferry in 7 hours to arrive at exactly the right place at exactly the right moment to save Robert E. Lee's army from total destruction. Hill's veterans, arguably the fiercest fighters in the Army of Northern Virginia, smash into the unprotected flank of the rookie 16th Connecticut, and within minutes they destroy that regiment. They shatter the next Union regiment, they shatter the next Union regiment, and the next. The Ninth Corps battle line is being rolled up like a cheap rug. Now eventually, Hill's men will get to those veteran Union regiments further down the line. Those men will be able to fight their way back down to Antietam Creek. A.P. Hill's Confederates, now let's think about this. They were tired when they got here. They are exhausted now, but they have nonetheless managed to push the Ninth Corps back almost to where it started from. But despite that magnificent performance, here we are at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and Robert E. Lee is at his most vulnerable yet. He has no more reinforcements.